All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Folks, this is not only one of the better teams in the AFC, this is one of the better teams in the entire National Football League. We throw back the clock all the way to 1 year ago when this squad was sitting at 2-6. They end up making the playoffs at 9-8. They end up having one of the craziest comeback games in playoff history that I've ever seen with my own two eyes against the Los Angeles Chargers. They kept it close against Kansas City, and they start off the season right now. We're getting close to the midway point. They've rattled off 4 straight. They're sitting at 5-2, big-time matchup this upcoming weekend against another great AFC team in the Pittsburgh Steelers. But guys, the future is so bright, but the future's arrived. You know, they have such great leadership. I love what Doug Peterson said the other day. Our culture is strong here. Our culture is strong. 94% of fans love the direction of the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a team that's having fun. They want to get better. They communicate with each other. I love, even just watching these Jaguar games. Like, we go back last Thursday to the Saints game. Trevor Lawrence working with the wide receivers, working with the offensive line, communicating, doing what they need to do to win that football game. I just love what I see. The eye test is beautiful with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So we're going to talk about Jacksonville tonight's video, obviously, because I live here in Southwest Florida, and I know, I get mainly like Tampa coverage. This team is so criminally undercovered. I just can't believe it. We started covering this team last season once they started winning more football games, and it's still sitting at 5-2. Once again, one of the better teams in the AFC and the NFL in general. People don't really talk about it. They're still trying to figure out how to win, though. So I understand it, and we're going to talk about that in tonight's video. But before we do, guys, if you enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. We do get at least one Jaguars video out every single week. So Jags fans, if we try and get this video to 250 likes, that would mean the absolute world to me. So, I think like the Detroit Lions are a perfect comparison to, they started 1-6 last year. They finished 9-8. They're also, I believe, 5-2 right now at the time of this recording. These are teams just trying to figure out how to win. And I think the Saints game was a perfect representation where, they're up 17-6 at halftime, and we're going into the third quarter, we're going into the halftime, and it's clear who the better team is. The Saints have a great defense, but it's clear Jacksonville is better. So I want Jacksonville, as the season progresses, to just kind of they have the foot on the gas in the first half, especially keep it on the gas pedal, right? Close games better. I want to see this team fully, just as Doug Peterson said, learn how to win, right? And learn how to win big, especially. But, we've already seen a couple of those, like that Colts game, whatever. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Nonetheless, man, there's so much to like about this Jacksonville team. We'll talk about the defense a little bit later on in the video. But here's the thing with Jacksonville, and this is something we've really tried to hammer home whenever I talk about this squad on here. They have yet to hit the tip of the iceberg. They really have not. Like, Trevor Lawrence on the season is doing well. The offense in general, they're putting up 25 points per game. They're 9th in total points per game. In points, they've had 173. That's 8th in the National Football League. You've got Trevor Lawrence, who's doing fine. He's doing good. 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's throwing for only 235 yards per game. And I think that's a perfect indicator of this team's just getting started. I have Travis Etienne, who's got 7 touchdowns through 7 games this season. He's averaging 72 yards per game. I have Evan Ingram. I have Christian Kirk. I have Calvin Ridley. I've got even guys like Zay Jones, Jamal Agnew. There's so much distribution available to Trevor Lawrence, and we saw that on full display this past week. 6 different targets against the New Orleans Saints. Calvin Ridley is still kind of gearing up. I've seen some comments, I've seen some rumblings about not being in game shape. Keep in mind, he has not played football in a very, very, very long time. So that's something that's going to take time. We go back, 3 weeks ago to that Buffalo Bills win where he had over 100 yards, a couple of touchdowns. These are things, it's just going to take time. It's going to take time to get that chemistry, to get back up to NFL speed for Calvin Ridley. But in the meantime, you're still loaded with versatile weapons. Travis Etienne, 53 yards, 2 touchdowns last Thursday against the Saints. I've got Christian Kirk, who is, now he's wide receiver number 2 technically. I mean, he's honestly one of the best wide receiver twos in the National Football League, and people aren't even talking about it. He had like 1,200 receiving yards last year without Calvin Ridley. He's having another phenomenal. He's just so reliable. This dude is so reliable, and he's so consistent. 6 catches, 90 yards, and that touchdown we saw against the New Orleans Saints. Evan Ingram is also just, I mean, like most of the players on Jacksonville and the Jaguars in general, just very underrated. 5 catches, 45 yards. But Evan Ingram on the season, 346 yards. He's averaging 50 yards per game. He still has yet to have his first receiving touchdown of the season, but there's so much distribution available to Trevor Lawrence, and I love it. Trevor Lawrence in and of himself, we saw last season, after a shaky-ish rookie season, he killed it last year. It's just going to take time. And in the meantime, I absolutely love what I see. Now, things aren't perfect, and we'll look at the defense here. Trade deadline's on Tuesday. We've seen some rumblings. We've seen some, Daniel Hunter. I've seen Brian Burns, Chase Young, et cetera, et cetera. I need one more, ideally edge rusher, or I just need one more guy outside of Josh Allen, who's killed it this season, by the way, with 7 sacks. I just need one more guy that's going to give me close to double-digit-ish sacks. I don't necessarily need a superstar like Hunter. I don't necessarily need a Chase Young, but I do hope that they make a move, ideally at this trade deadline, for some type of guy who's going to get to the rusher outside of Josh Allen. Now, I love Travon Walker, and I think he has 2.5 sacks on this season. He's number 2 on the team. I don't think stats are a good way to evaluate Walker, and I think a lot of Jacksonville Jaguar fans would agree with that statement. But the defense isn't perfect. The team isn't perfect. Once again, they were 2-6 last season at the halfway point. Now, offensively, they're top 10 in scoring. Defensively, they're still middle of the pack. They're giving up 21 points per game. That's good for 16th in the National Football League. I am absolutely loving some of these guys on the defensive side. Foye Oluokun, he has 81 tackles on the season. What's crazy is he's pretty much just on pace for what he's done in his last 2 seasons. He had like 190 tackles with the Falcons 2 years ago. He comes on over to Jacksonville last season. He has like 180 tackles. We saw the pick 6. Foye in general is extremely underrated. The dude's just literally a tackle monster. I'm loving the secondary. I like a lot of the pieces that they have on the secondary, specifically Tyson Campbell, who in his 3rd season is establishing himself as a star cornerback in this league. You've got guys like Andre Cisco, who has 3 interceptions. Darius Williams has 3 interceptions. The Jags defense leads the league in takeaways with 17. I've got also my number 1 draft, or another 1st-round draft pick last season, and Devin Lloyd, who's done a phenomenal job in year number 2 with 39 tackles, 6 pass deflections. This defense is hungry. This is just a hungry team, and the statistics are not bad whatsoever. I believe they were ranked 12th in the league last year, points per game, but it is something to keep an eye on. I wouldn't be surprised if they were to make some type of move to get another pass rusher over on in Jacksonville, because they could be, whether or not they're 6-2 or 5-3 after this Pittsburgh Steelers game heading into the bye week. This is the best team in the AFC South. This is one of the best teams in the AFC in general. So keep an eye on them, as everybody should be doing. But people still aren't really talking about Jacksonville. So let me know if you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content, and I'll see you guys later.